Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching. This is the voice and the face of Dr. Tolulope Olabintan of Livingspring Family Medical Center, a family medicine hub where we take care of kids, adults, men and women here in the city of Mansfield, Texas. I'm so excited to be with you here again today. And if there's anyone who you think would benefit from this topic, we're talking depression, how to tackle it from the inside and out. Please go ahead and tag them. I do believe that I did give permission for you to be able to share. And our guest is here. Hi.
Hi, Dr. O. I made it. I'm here.
There's always that victory laugh when we
Yes.
So awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I just introduced myself. And for us to be able to maximize this time, because it tends to go quickly, I want to just go ahead and have you please, before I even say that, I'm so happy to have you here. You're my sister, you're my friend, and I've loved getting to know you. So I just want to put that in real quick. But I'd love for you to just introduce yourself, who you are to our viewers, and what you do.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. O. It's a pleasure to be here with my friend and somebody who I really respect. So my name is Dr. Jeanne Lawrence. I'm a board certified psychiatrist. I'm also a therapist. I own a private practice here in North Carolina. And I serve primarily women physicians through that mental health practice. I also serve non-physician clients in my role as a psychiatrist within a large hospital system, primarily providing psychiatric consultation and ongoing care to patients who are in the primary care setting through a collaborative care model. And lastly, I am the creator of Emotional Mastery for Women Physicians, which is a coaching program that I developed. And that program helps women physicians live lives that are not only successful on the outside, but also feel really good on the inside. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. So you're a woman of many hats. So
I'm a woman of many hats. Yes, like most women.
Awesome. Now, real quick, why do you do what you do? Like, what made you decide to be a psychiatrist?
Yes, I have given that question a lot of thought. I didn't understand it at first, but I think it is a calling. Mental health is not for everybody, but as soon as I got on my mental health rotation, on my psychiatry rotation as a med student, I knew it was for me. And I think it has to do with the different way that we connect with patients, the deeper connection that we're able to form in long appointments and longitudinally over time, and just a long-standing desire in my heart to kind of fight for people who are marginalized and underserved. And so I was just naturally drawn to those suffering with mental health conditions for those reasons.
It takes a big heart to do that. So
yeah.
A big heart. So awesome. Now let's dive right in. What is depression? Yes. What is depression?
Yeah, great place to start. So depression is a medical condition, and I like to start there because there's a lot of misconception that there's some kind of separation between what happens in our brains and our bodies, but it's all very interconnected. And so depression is a medical condition that affects the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we behave. The diagnostic manual that we use in psychiatry called the DSM kind of lays out the criteria. There are 9 core criteria. A person has to meet at least 5 of those criteria. One of the criteria has to be a low mood, or either something we call anhedonia, or loss of interest and pleasure in things that were previously enjoyed. And then the other criteria are changes in sleep. So sleeping too much or not sleeping enough, changes in appetite, either up or down from your normal baseline, decrease in energy, decrease in ability to concentrate and focus, something we call psychomotor retardation. So that's a noticeable slowing down in how quickly a person moves, or feeling more agitated than usual. There's also preoccupation with thoughts around guilt and worthlessness, death, and suicide. And so when a person experiences at least 5 of those symptoms for 2 consistent weeks or more at a time, and it represents a change from their previous level of function, and is also causing problems in their social life or their job or their ability to take care of themselves, then we call that major depression.
So there's an effect, it affects the functionality of the individual. So that's going to segue to my next question. Some of these symptoms can happen when someone has lost someone, or when someone is grieving, or when someone is sad over some things that are happening in their life. So I don't know if this is an easy question to answer, but it's more, is it possible to be depressed just for a short period of time surrounding an event? How do you differentiate that from being sad?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there is a difference between the emotion of sadness and the condition of depression. So sadness, as you alluded to, feeling down in response to a loss or a tragedy or a disappointment is normal. We all have our normal human emotions. It's expected that we'd feel sad in response to something that's sad or disappointing.
Right.
When it becomes something that is lasting longer than we would expect, and then also associated with those physical symptoms that I talked about, and also causing some impairment in our ability to function in the major areas of our lives, like I said, relationships, work, etc., then we start to look into whether this is depression and something that needs to be treated in some way.
Okay, so watching out for the signs are very important. And talking to somebody, of course, your primary care doctor, your psychiatrist, at least paying attention to these signs and calling attention to them to your doctor is important. And sometimes you don't know that they're depressed. So some people may notice some things and then maybe call their attention to it or offer suggestions for help. So just a thought there. Now, let's go into how to manage depression without medications. Of course, this is not medical advice. That's you should have personal care. So that's something you should have a conversation with your doctor about. But these are just suggestions, okay? So how, outside of medications, should someone who may be struggling with depression, how can they manage it?
Yeah, great question. As you alluded to, you always want to start with an evaluation by your primary care provider or your psychiatrist. And secondly, once you have, an understanding about what's going on with you outside of medication, some things that I like to recommend. One, taking care of your physical health. And so that includes things like getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, following a healthy diet that doesn't include a lot of sugar and processed foods, engaging in exercise several times a week. There's good evidence that aerobic exercise 3 times a week for 45 to 60 minutes can be a powerful adjunct to improving depressive symptoms. I also like to add in there getting sunlight. So if you can do your exercise in the fresh air and get the benefit of the sun, that goes a long way too. The next category would be around stress management. So we're all going to have things that are stressful and challenging in our day-to-day lives. And so developing positive coping strategies that not only help you feel better in the moment, but also are going to benefit you long-term is really important. So again, that would be things like exercise, calling a friend that you trust, listening to music that is soothing. It could be prayer and meditation, anything that helps you short-term, but also helps you long-term. And I like to make that differentiation because sometimes we cope with what's right there. And like a common one might be to grab a pint of ice cream after a hard day. And that feels good in the moment. But if that's your constant coping strategy, it's easy to see how that can lead to some negative effects downstream. So finding positive ways to manage stress is really important to managing depression.
Awesome. So you dropped a lot of gems here, and I want us to kind of break it down just a little bit. So exercise is very good for a lot of things. I know we talk about that a lot on this forum, but exercise releases endorphins, which are natural highs. And so sometimes you feel, well, I'm depressed. Why would I want to go exercise? Well, the whole idea is to get something natural that your body will use to help you actually feel better. She mentioned sunlight. Sometimes it's hard, as the days get a little darker, but not wanting to close the curtains, especially if you have dark curtains, and not allowing any sunlight in, it's not helpful. One of the things I've learned to do is to mimic the sun, and that's why you see the orange background.
Yes.
It's like, it lights up. And then diet. A lot of times our self-soothe, our coping skills, or self-soothe. Essentially, you want to give yourself a hug after a long day.
Yes.
It's part of being alive.
That's a good thing.
It's part of being alive. And so, food is usually very easy. It's non-judgmental, doesn't ask questions. And so, it's easy to go to food. But sometimes the wrong foods can actually make you feel more tired, which in turn can make you feel more depressed. And so having those outlets and having those coping strategies in place before things, things that could be stressful happen, or as a lifestyle, is very, very important. You mentioned calling a friend. I've had patients, talk about, I don't like to disturb people. I don't want to burden them with my problems, but I think life is better when burden is shared.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to lean into your community. I hope you have a community. Sometimes you have to work hard to get that community, but it's very important to have that system in place so you can lean in. You mentioned music, listening to music. You mentioned meditation and praying. I share one of mine. I wake up with a worshipful dance. I get up and I dance and worship, and I just thank God for the blessings that I have. So thank God for this. Thank God for that. Thank God. Sometimes it's hard, but it's over practicing and practicing and doing it over and over again. You start to see your brain actually is rewired. You start to see it positively, but keep doing it. Keep doing it. Thank you so much. This is good. This is good. Now, my next question is this: how is it possible to prevent depression? And I think you answered it partly, but I wanted us to emphasize that more. Is it possible to prevent depression? And if so, how? How would you suggest that we do so?
Yeah, I would say yes. And I think a lot of the same strategies that we just went over not only improve depression when it's present, but also can prevent depression if you're predisposed to it, or if you just want to, be proactive about your mental health. So again, it's taking good care of yourself. It's fostering good, positive relationships. It's developing great coping strategies. I absolutely love what you said about your morning practice of getting up and expressing gratitude. There's real science to back that up as well, that expressing gratitude and getting into that habit is a very powerful mental retraining tool that we can use to see the positives and avoid the negative spiral that can lead to long periods of depression. So some other things would be to, of course, avoid substance use like alcohol and tobacco and drugs, which can cause depressive symptoms. And then also to be under the care of a great primary care physician like Dr. O, managing our medical conditions, especially things like thyroid conditions and vitamin deficiencies and anemia. All of those things can present as depressive symptoms. So being under the care of somebody who is looking out for those medical contributors to depression as well, and managing those things well, can certainly avoid falling into a major depressive episode.
Awesome. That's awesome. So, you did highlight a few things that sometimes it could be a medical cause leading to the depression. So thyroid disorders, anemia, which contribute to fatigue. So it's important to also have that checked out before it's only just ruled in as depression. Okay. So really, really important to be checked out or to see someone for this. Of course, you're a psychologist as well. So definitely want to emphasize, talking to someone about it too. Seeing a therapist. I don't think we mentioned that outside of medication. Talking to a psychologist is very, very important. Now, I was going to ask one question. I do get a lot of pushback from patients, like, I don't know, I don't want to talk to somebody. I don't want to talk to a stranger. I don't know about seeing a psychologist because I'm not crazy. And so letting people know that it's not a question of you being crazy, it's a question of addressing your mental health. If there was something wrong with your heart, and I said, here you go, you got to do this, you got to do that, you would take it seriously, right? You would do those things. The same thing with your mental health. If there's something that's off, either maybe through genetics or something that has happened, or for whatever reason, there are imbalances when it comes to mental health. It's important to also have those things addressed. So what do you say to that person who's saying, well, I'm not crazy. I don't think I need to see a therapist. What would you say?
Yeah. I hear that a lot, and I'm glad that you brought that up. There is a lot of misconception and stigma around seeking mental health treatment, and a lot of this idea that it's just for, people that are struggling significantly. And I like to say that getting therapy is a way to be proactive about your mental health. It's a way to avoid, like I said, problems before they build up and start to cause, more serious mental health conditions. And I'm personally of the opinion that we should see therapists more, and not wait until there's crisis, but do it proactively. It gives a different perspective around the way our thoughts are affecting our emotions. And when you understand that connection between the way you're thinking and how you're feeling, then you can exert some power in your life, and you can face challenges in a way that is positive and healthy, and doesn't necessarily spiral into more significant mental health issues. And so again, therapy is for everybody is the bottom line.
I say this to my patients a lot. I say everybody needs a therapist. Some people find it in a therapist, some people find it in family, some people find it in friends, some people find it in community. But it's important to have someone that you could talk to share your feelings with honestly and unashamedly. That's important. And I'm going to segue that to my next question: the shame of depression. So there's the one side where people would say, I'm not crazy, where people get defensive, but there's also the, how can I be depressed? How can I be depressed? Why would and I'll share this, my personal story. When I struggled with depression, I was ashamed of it, because, as a Christian, as a child of God, I thought, that's not something I should struggle with. God's promises are this and that. And it was something I tried to hide for a while. And so when it finally came out and something I admitted, and I was encouraging somebody else actually, and that's how I came out in conversation, I was able to realize that, in dealing with my other patients or talking to other patients who are going through the same thing, that it's not something to be ashamed of. And, you know, when something is kept in the dark, when there's something that's hidden, you actually give it more power. But when it's exposed and light is allowed to shine on it, it loses its power. And I realized that talking about that struggle has helped me overcome it. You know, so what would you say to someone who says, you know, I'm ashamed that I'm depressed? You know, because sometimes feedback is this, you know, how can you be depressed? You know, you have everything going for you, or on the outside, everything looks so good. How could you be depressed? What would you say to that person?
You know, that's such a beautiful testimony and a beautiful story. And I love that you are using your platform to share that and to aid in your own journey and help others in their journey too. I think there is a lot of shame attached to and stigma attached to depression and other mental health struggles that is really misplaced. At the end of the day, depression is very common. I was looking at the statistics before this call. Something like 264 million people worldwide suffer from depression. So there's this idea that you know, you are kind of othered and different if you're struggling in this way, when the truth is that a lot more people than admit it are suffering. I think the real strength is, as you said, not in holding it all in or trying to manage it on your own. The real strength is sharing it and getting the support that a person needs. And I think I've seen many times that a part of healing and then thriving after depression has a lot to do with, again, not relying on yourself, but leaning into other people, other resources. And then it becomes a powerful part of your testimony that not only heals you, but can heal other people. And so, you know, I say, I say, let's try to get rid of the stigma. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to talk openly about these things and let everybody know that it's common. We're all kind of in this together, and there's no shame. There's actually a lot of strength in speaking up about it.
We let the light in.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So holidays are coming. So that's why the timing of this topic was around now. Thanksgiving is coming and Christmas is coming and the new year. And a lot of times I see my patients struggle. Also because the weather too, sun is shorter. The sunlight time is shorter. And so I see that, you know, worsening depression. And then, of course, around the holidays, people come together with family. You know, some people are alone. Some people have lost a loved one. And so this time reminds them of their loss. So what would you say to that person who's watching right now, who's almost dreading the holiday season, you know, what to do and how to cope during this time?
Yeah. So what you said is absolutely true. And I love that we're talking about it now at the beginning of November, because it gives people a time to reflect and be proactive about their mental health. So if the holidays are traditionally a time where you tend to struggle for any reason, whether it's the loss of light or the memories of the loss of someone else, putting in place now some things that you can use as the time approaches is really important. One thing I like to do is try to reduce the stress that comes with the holidays. We usually have a lot of pressure and expectations that we do a million and one things around the holiday in terms of shopping and decorating and visiting, etc. I like to tell people to write a list of all those things that you think you have to do around the holidays, and then go through it and cross out at least half of them. At the end of the day, we don't have to overburden ourselves with excessive stress around the holidays. It should be a time to relax and enjoy. And the way that you really do that is taking some of that off of your plate. I think putting plans in place like that relate to spending time with people that you love and that support you is really important to avoid some of the loneliness that can come around the holidays. And then I also think that being proactive around, again, your physical health is important too. And I say that because the holidays can become a time where it's easy to overindulge in things like sweets, and for some people alcohol. It's easy to stay up late watching Christmas movies. It's easy to not exercise for the entire month because you're cozy inside. And I think there's a time and place for the fun and the relaxation of the holidays, but it should be balanced with the healthy habits that hopefully you've been developing earlier in the year, and not to let those totally slip away. And so if you like to eat sweets and drink eggnog in the evenings, maybe balance that with a healthy breakfast and a walk in the morning. Don't let your healthy habits go away just because it's the holiday season. And again, that's just being proactive about protecting your mental health.
Awesome. So I want to highlight some of the points you made. Being proactive is key. Number one, having your systems in place to self-soothe, right? So we talked about not just food, listening to music. We talked about maybe talking to a friend. We talked about maybe even reading a book. Dancing can be a form of self-soothing. Blogging or writing a journal, or coloring. They have adult coloring books. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have one. They're
So they're
great.
so detailed, and so look for other put systems in place for you to self-soothe. So what are things that you could do to help yourself feel better? That's not just food. And we discourage things like overindulgence in alcohol or drugs, okay, or indulgence in any kind of drug that you shouldn't be on. So that's one. Number two, reduce the stress that comes with holidays. So write down. I like your idea. Write a list of all the things you feel you have to do it, that you have to do, and cross out half of it. I've been encouraging my patients now. Okay, who's hosting? Are you hosting? Are you the one going somewhere? And I say, if you're the one going somewhere, ask what you can bring to help the person. And if you're the one hosting, ask for people to help you, and also ask that they bring healthy alternatives.
Yeah.
So that it can help you on your health journey. So start that planning now. Divvy up some of the stress. It's okay to ask for help. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise.
Yeah.
All right. And then prioritize spending time with family. And so for those of you who know that there's some people who will be alone during the holidays, this is also a call for you to reach out to them and say, hey, what are you doing for the holidays? And make adjustments to include them, because this could be a very stressful time for them. And then we talked, of course, about your physical health. I know this, we say this over and over again, but it's amazing what exercise, what eating well would do for you. So make sure you have those kind of sprinkled in the holiday season also. The holiday season is not an exception. It's just really just make little tweaks here and there. This has been awesome. I have learned a lot, and I know that people who are watching have learned a lot. I'm asking that those who are watching either live or replay, please share with those who need to hear this, especially at this time. Dr. Jeanne Lawrence, you are amazing. Thank you so much for coming. Now, for my viewers who are watching, who are like, man, this woman is amazing. Where can I get to talk to her, or how can I reach out to her, or what's her contact details? Can you tell people, where can we find you?
Yes, please check out my website, JeannineLawrenceMD.com. That's JeannineLawrencemD.com. And there you can look into my services that I provide. And also I have a blog that I've written dozens of articles around mental health and things that we can do to empower ourselves to feel better. And so get on my email list and get those blog posts sent directly to you.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to put all that information here at the end of the live. Thank you so much for coming. I'm looking at the comments. Christy, yes, thank you so much. And Clement, yes, she is amazing and very beautiful. Yes, she is. And Loco, thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Arlette, thank you. Just to wrap up, guys, please share, like I said, forward. I believe this is shareable. And if you or anyone you know is looking for a thorough, a caring, and a passionate family physician in the Mansfield, Texas area, I am she. It's been awesome. Thank you, Jeannie. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you, Dr. O. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Lit. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the